Well, 1 minute.
I said, I thought I was still ahead.
That's the additional I gave you, I just typed it up ready
What
for
is
your
it on?
signature. You see
That's
it?
it.
Tim, that's the additional I just typed up that you just put on top of that one. Right there.
Okay. Call this meeting to order. I'll stand and face the flag for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call. Britton Luther.
Here.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yocum present. Start this meeting off today. We're all here to talk about the jail renovation, and we're also to discuss some additional commissioner appointments to county committee boards appointments. So, first of all, I want to say welcome to come. This is a big project, probably one of the biggest projects ever done in Vermilion County. It's a much needed project, and I think we'll be fine. I want to say thanks to the council for doing a good job of overseeing the finances, and we do have some funds available. I just checked here a few minutes ago, and we got roughly $3 million that's set aside in Trust Indiana for the jail fund. Some of the things, and I'm going to start off, if any of you guys want to interject or stop me, I want to address an issue first here from the financial side, if that's okay, and then we can proceed on to other things. We have a bill here today, and we're working on getting the billing lined out. We're going to make a request to the council to move the funding that we need up to bid date, that will be available to go ahead and pay these bills. Like I said, I appreciate the council. At least we have the money there, and a lot of times you might not have that money there, but we do have it. So what we're looking at, a total cost of this, of the engineering, $795,974. And of that amount, we paid $117,000 out. If you want, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm reading off this, and if you guys can look at that bill and make sure I'm giving you the right figures. Let's try to give everybody an update. So we paid $117,000 out of that $795,000, and we have a bill today for $148,663. If you look at the invoicing alone, the schematic and design and the design development is at 100%. Am I correct on that, Sanjay? And you can see where it's previous build. So what I'm recommending, one other question back up, on the construction administration, the very last item on there, for $159,000.
Yes.
was that gonna be prorated over 24 months, or?
That is correct. We estimated about 8,800 per month for 24 months.
Okay, I was wondering, because we're looking at, if I'm not mistaken, I had a call in Ashley this morning, but I think that what the council was wanting to do is for us to make one request for appropriations for the total amount of this engineering money that will already be set aside, ready to be paid out. So we don't have to come back to the, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, so the council don't have to keep coming back to that problem. I understand you got another situation, but I'm talking about right now for engineering to cover that. So if you take the amount that we would owe, because right now the account, the 1142 account, according to what I see, we got roughly $5,000 in that account. So we're gonna have to move money over into that account, which will be the remainder. And what we're wanting to do, if you look at the total, if my numbers are right, if you take the total amount of the project of $795,000, deduct what we have paid versus what we will owe on the total engineering project, it would include the 24 months too. I don't know if we ought to go and ask for that or not, because that would be not used. You know what I'm saying? That will actually be paid out over each month, over a 24-month period, correct? So should we ask for that also to get the whole package, or should we leave that part out in this request?
I have no problem leaving it in the request. I don't know if Britton does or
It's
not.
fine with leaving it in the request.
Okay.
It's just a lump sum of money. They'll be billing us,
Yes.
and not until we get to construction will they be billing us, so.
Right. I'm just
The
trying to
latter
figure out
part.
how we move X amount to X place. So that total is $678,974, according if we got the calculation right. So
Question though, the 117, as far as what I knew, is 77,000 is all that's been spent on the account. Where'd the other funding, where'd the difference come between 77,000 and 117,000?
do you disagree with the 678,974?
I assume that's the difference. Well, that's the question. Where did the 117,000 number come from, as opposed to it should have been 77,000
The 117,000 already paid.
for what?
Do what?
For what?
It was part of the original amount.
I'll go for bills.
Sanjay, why did we pay you 117,000 already?
So we had,
Can you come up to the, has she got a mic over there and it work okay?
so to date, we've completed schematic design and design development phases of the project. And so we had 82,500 for the schematic design, and then the remainder was for the design development.
So out of the 183,000, we've already paid you a portion of that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's just where it came from.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right.
So the question here is for all you to consider and approve. I think you said you did. Then it would be okay to ask the council to move the $678,974 into the, I got the right account number, the 1142 account. Would it be, we just need to make a decision?
Yep.
Is it okay?
It's fine with me to
Yep.
do, if that's the difference between 117,000 and
Yeah.
whatever the number is here.
If you want to calculate, just to make sure I made an error, or we made an error, I mean, that's, so that will be done. then.
Probably ought to make a motion to, you want to make a motion to that effect, or do you want to just do it by agreement?
Okay. You second it?
Yeah, I'll second the motion if someone made a motion.
didn't.
Yeah, we don't have to, but
That was a
it's nice
question.
we did, but,
I can make a motion then to move $678,974 into what account number is it?
it's the 1142 account, and we'll check to make sure that account number is the correct one, but that's where the last check that was wrote out
Into the
to
operating
them
funds?
came out
Sure.
of there, so I'm assuming it would be the correct, but we'll recheck that.
Subject to the account number, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Measure passed. The other thing is, right now, an update on the amount of money we have, and this is the minimum amount of money we have that's already appropriated, not appropriated, but in funds. In Trust Indiana for the jail fund, we have $2,918,088.65 in that account there. So like I said, I appreciate the council, what they've done, and been wise with their funds and set it aside for this project, so. So I guess one of the next things we need to do is make a motion or come to agreement, we're gonna pay this bill for RQAW for $148,663.80 after we move this funding over.
I think we need to approve the 100% design first before we can
Okay.
appropriate the monies,
Okay, that's fine.
or agree that they're complete.
Can you educate us on this 100% design so we know more and the public knows more?
So, just to reiterate, we were going to break this design project up into 3 phases. One was going to be the schematic design, which is your initial concept development. As you start putting more detail and more flesh into the drawings itself, we get to the design development phase, which is kind of the intermediate phase between starting out the project and getting the project ready for bidding. The final phase is construction documents, which will take us to a point where we can actually then put the drawings out for bidding and get hard contract numbers from contractors. And so we have completed that design development phase at this point, and it is, we're looking for approval to move on to the construction document phase and to get that ready by, end of March, 1st of April to go to bids. And so it's just it's an intermediate step, and it's, according to our contract, we have stipulated that we do need to get approval from you to proceed to the next phase. So at any time, if you want, you can stop the project, or, you're not committed to the whole design process unless you direct us to proceed. I can go through some of the drawings if you want and kind of give you a brief overview of where we are. So again, we've gone through a lot of design discussions with staff, with the sheriff. Britton's been part of it. Again, we've developed code compliance plans for the project, working with a code consultant to determine where we're adding on to the project, where our firewall separations would be between existing and new, what other kind of code requirements are there from the state of Indiana that we had to comply with. And this is more than the state of Indiana code. It is also ACA compliance, which is the American Correctional Association, for sizes of cells, natural light requirements, HVAC requirements for housing, things like that. We do have site drawings completed, demolition of existing, and proposed additions and changes to the project itself. We have agreed that, the parking layouts, the fence layouts, the gates, access control. Is it not sharing?
Timeout.
I think the Wi-Fi disconnected. Technology is wonderful when it works.
How hard would it be, while he's doing it, how hard would it be to eventually have stuff that's put here and put on the online viewer? Where the people can actually see the documents that are coming in here, we're putting up there. Is that
It's
a possibility?
possible. I just have to.
Okay. If you can look now, I'd appreciate it. It'd be something nice to help the public. There he goes.
All right, great. So as you can see, this is our proposed site layout of the project. We have our public parking access at the bottom here. We have our secured staff parking behind a fenced area that would run around the entire perimeter of the building. We have your existing facility here, a pod addition, which at some point in the future could be expanded to add additional beds. We plan for that. We are replacing the existing vehicular sally port with a larger sally port with larger doors to allow for larger vehicles to be brought in. We are expanding the kitchen and laundry.
So we're still with that, we still got that same problem, that right-of-way issue on the corner of that building?
We have been allowed to encroach a little bit into that by the previous design. We did go for a variance on that, so.
So it's going to continue out into that
It is
right-of-way as it originally was, or it's going to be?
It's not as much.
Okay.
This is, I believe, it's, I think, 6 feet into it. We had got permission to encroach 15 feet into it the last time we went through this issue.
Okay, there's no utilities out there that you're going to be bumping into?
That is correct. So
Is that
we
the
are,
setback line? Is that what that is?
Yep.
Okay.
So the building setback line and then the highway setback line, we were encroaching a little bit into that, and so through the process, we limited our design to not encroach into that full 15 feet that we were allowed to encroach into that. Working with HWC, we will be looking at utilities coming into the existing mechanical area and to the new mechanical room that's in this location here. We have some additional asphalt and paving, and then we're going to be looking at the Muffin Monster, the garbage,
Did you guys work it out where that incoming line, that potable water line is coming in the same place the existing hookup is, or are you guys going to move that?
Pretty close.
It's pretty much close to exactly where we were thinking we were going to come in, so.
We'll have that, we got our survey done last week, so we'll have that laid out probably this week, and we can share that with everybody.
Okay.
And feel free to stop me as I go through it. There's 151 drawings in this set, so I'll try not to go through.
We don't need to see all of them.
Yeah,
just
don't need to go through, just the basics. So we did have a discussion with the sheriff last week. There were some minor modifications and.
Do you have a set of those? I mean, that would be somewhere that you print up eventually? I mean, if we just have those. We can look at it online. Could we do it that way, right? It's good enough for you?
So access to this has been
Okay.
provided to everyone. I think it might be beneficial if the auditor can post it if you feel like it. Again, this is a.
It would be kind of nice to have a nice set here set, and people want to look through, they can look through.
Absolutely, we can get a set printed out and
Okay.
deliver it
Right.
here. And again, it's a question of confidentiality. You as the commissioners need to decide how much of this information you want made public.
Okay.
Some
That'd be up to-
entities have concerns with, layouts and interior details. And you might want to think how much of it you post publicly.
There's security issues
Yeah, okay,
that you don't
understand.
want to necessarily.
I understand.
So just going through some of the utilities that we did run into the existing, this is a mapping of all how the existing utilities would work with the new. We're taking care of drainage issues with the existing facility. There's a lot of sheet draining going on, and the water is freezing on sidewalks and things, so we're going to address all of those issues and take all the water to storm so that you're not going to have that kind of problem in the future. Again, grading plans have been developed over what's going to happen around the existing building. I'll just jump into some structural drawings are being developed with steel beams, column sizes, things like that, that are going to define how this addition is going to get built out, how the pod's going to get built, all these additions are going to get built out. Architectural, we've started developing demolition plans, again, what's being taken out, so all existing plumbing fixtures are being taken out, new plumbing fixtures are going to be put in, the water management system is going to be implemented so that you can save on utilities and water usage. some of the existing demolition in the existing to allow for the new construction. Here's a detailed plan of the proposed final project. We do have your administration addition here. There were some minor tweaks that we worked through with the sheriff. We are going to be adding some more detailing to the evidence for some equipment that sheriff requested. There were some changes in the kitchen. We did have a good meeting with the kitchen consultant last week with the sheriff and with the jail commander. And we went through every piece of equipment in the kitchen that's proposed and how that's going to work. And I think generally the consensus is that it works the way we designed it. There are a couple of changes, like we're adding some janitor closets and things like that into the space. Again, trying to open it up so that there is a lot more visibility from the control desk to some of these spaces in the intake and booking. There were a few minor tweaks that have not been implemented at this point. That's going to be taken care of in the next phase. There was a sally port that we were going to keep. There was some visitation booth issues about proximity to each other when we're having visitation in the lobby, so we were going to relocate some outside and put only 2 visitation in the existing.
What is that one room that's not labeled, just to the left of the green line, lower left? Right
This
there?
one?
Yes.
So that's an open courtyard. We don't want it to become a debris collector or dirt collector, because if you start putting walls all around this courtyard, you're just going to have leaves and stuff falling in. It's going to be very hard to maintain. So we are providing a door to access it. And it's going to have no roof, but it's going to still be a space that's accessible. We're not sure how it's going to get used, if it's a smoking area or just a seating area, but it's going to have walls all around, and so it's not really going to be conducive to, maybe a picnic table or something like that if somebody wants to go out there and sit. It's not considered, we're not adding to the square footage. I mean, if we want, we can look at putting a roof on this and adding a room. Mike, I don't know if you have any opinions on that, this space here.
That's where that glass smoke booth is at currently. You walk in to the right before the front door. Still gotta give them an area to smoke, or put it out before they walk in. Is that right? Is that the area we're talking about?
This area here? That's just before you get to the existing lobby. The area to the right.
Glass booth is at currently? The gravel to the right of the main door going into the foyer?
So this area here, just to the right of, yes. So right down the vestibule's here. You're walking in from the side here. It's this area here.
That's where the current booth is at.
Booth, right. So it is our intent to maintain it unless we want to move it away from the building. We can look at doing something different with this area here. Again, we're not spending a lot of money covering it up if it's not going to be used for something. Leaving it open might be the easiest solution at this point, to provide a smoking area if that's...
Pull that view back, where's the roof lines compare? You said that's right now would be open to the atmosphere?
Yes.
So where does the roof lines come into play with that opening?
So this is the roof plan of the facility. This is the non-shaded areas is your existing roof. The shaded areas...
Can you zoom out of that a little bit, see where that's actually, okay, so that's...
So this is the lobby in here. This is your existing vestibule. We are extending that out.
So you got all the roof lines going into that open area, don't you?
You do have gutters, downspouts, yes, going into there. So we will manage the water situation there. It'll still have a little, it's not a large open area, but for the purposes of a smoking area, that it'll serve the purpose.
I'd have to look at that a little more to give you an opinion.
And this is part of the design process, so, you know, any ideas that, you know, we want to implement, this is the time to do it.
Is that right along the entrance into the pod?
No, the pod entrance is at the back
I
here.
need to see the bigger,
Let's go to an overall plan.
okay, okay.
So the pod's back here,
Now where's that little square at, that opening at, you say?
that's right here.
Okay, it's on,
It's right next to.
it's right on the corner of the existing building, ain't it?
At the administration public
Yeah.
lobby, yes, right in the corner there.
Okay.
Maybe there's a different view I can,
So it'd be, that's part right against the side of the sheriff's, the entryway office there?
yes, so you're having this entryway from the public coming in, down the
Okay,
hallway into
yeah.
this vestibule, and right there you can see that's where that
Okay.
open area is gonna be.
It's kind of a bad place really for drainage, for all
Oh,
of us.
Yeah, we'll take care of that through storm drainage and stuff, but again, you know, maybe you can put some pavers down, maybe nothing's gonna grow in that area, but maybe a hard surface might suffice for a smoking area. I keep going back to smoking, maybe that's not the right area, not right description of the space we wanna use it for, but right now it's not being developed.
How high are the walls right there in that area?
They will be at least 12 foot high on either
How
side.
much?
12,
Okay.
yep. So it's gonna be a tunnel, basically. Again, if you wanna capture that area, maybe put a flat roof on it. It's something we could do and gain a room out of it, maybe just a waiting. Yeah, that could be an additional space that we can capture. We have started, you know, defining wall type construction. Again, what you see here is all detailed out, but S4, this will be a steel stud, 4-inch insulated all the way to deck. So when you go through the drawings, if you do spend some time, we're defining this type of construction, the types of spaces, the types of ceilings it gets, the types of dimensions that we are seeing inside each of the spaces, basic furniture layout so we can locate electrical outlets and data outlets and things like that. And so that'll be part of the ongoing discussions with the sheriff to establish where do we want data, do we want TVs on the wall, do we want, you know, copiers, printers, all of that kind of equipment. So just making sure that when you move in, you have all the infrastructure in place to be able to plug in and start working right away.
What is the ceilings going to be in those rooms? Are they going to be kind of like a suspended ceiling where you can get back up into them, or are they going to be a finished ceiling? What?
So all the ceilings in the administration areas will be drop-down ceilings,
Okay.
something similar to this. We like to use 2x2 instead of 2x4s. There's less sagging
Yeah.
that takes place over time. As we get into some of the detention areas, some of these existing ceilings will remain as is. Some of these areas where we do have inmates, what we do is we put a hardened suspended ceiling with retention clips. So even if an inmate's trying to bust through it and hide and stash stuff in there, there's clear evidence that it has been breached and that they are needing to take a look at that. As we get into the housing pod areas, again, similar kind of construction where we feel that inmates will have access. Retention clips is a great way to control that. And as you get into the second floor of the housing pod itself, we have the hard metal ceilings above the mezzanines. We have metal pan ceilings similar to this, but with metal panels 4 foot out from the face of the mezzanines to prevent inmates trying to climb and get to the ceiling above, and then regular acoustical ceilings with hold-down clips in those day room areas. Again, this is 20 feet in the air, so hopefully inmates are not throwing bottles and slippers at the ceilings, but even if they do, then the hold-down clips will keep it in place. You see the skylights in here that we are providing. Again, this is a requirement by ACA standards, so every day room will have natural light coming into the day rooms. the fronts of the cells will be having glass to some extent that meet the code compliance for natural lighting. So we do not have any windows on the perimeter of the building. So you're not worried about sight lines, if somebody's girlfriend standing out on the highway trying to, communicate with the inmates. All of those have been eliminated by providing natural light coming directly from the roof. Some elevations have been started, building sections, again, working through some of the details. This is kind of your section through the housing pod itself. You'll have your control rooms in the middle, you'll have your open day rooms, and then you'll have your cells with your chase spaces behind for easy maintenance and access to the back of the cells. All your maintenance should be done from the non-secure side of the cells. So if, the maintenance person going back to take care of plumbing issues or electrical, it's all in the chase itself. So they don't have to worry about counting tools. They don't have to worry about locking down inmates when they're accessing all the equipment at the back of the cells. Makes maintenance a lot easier, and it gets done more often than, if you had to lock everyone down every time you wanted to change a fixture or address some needs inside. We do have wall sections being developed again, establishing heights, establishing construction materials.
What'd you say on the, I know that Mike Phelps over the years has fought that thing about the drainage and the inmates flushing stuff down the commodes. How did you guys resolve it on this?
So
The flush system, flush control system, the water control system, they can only flush it so many times, and then for them to flood blocks and stuff, they have to stop up toilets completely and then keep flushing until it comes out onto the floors, and then it takes several inmate cells to do that. With these flush control system, or water control system, they're limited to how many times they can flush per half hour or per hour. So it also saves on water. Now, as far as trash, most of it's just laziness on their part. They don't care. I mean, they don't act any better inside that jail than they do out on the street. That's why they're there. So they candy wrappers or whatever they buy from commissary, they throw it in the toilet, and that's where the problem comes out with the that muffin monster or whatever that thing's called. It's supposed to grind that up.
So we've gotten notice from Vermilion Rise about the type of debris that's coming through the sewage system to them, and they're having a tough time handling it. We are looking with HWC at the existing grinder pump. It's not the best solution that's been implemented. We're going to look at either replacing that or augmenting that with a adjacent auger that can lift out the debris as it comes through the sewage system. So again, we want to make sure that anything that's flushed down the toilet does get ground up properly before it goes into Vermilion Rise. So we will be taking a look at that. Again, doors, very important for the facility like this. We've started, defining sizes and types of elevations. What kind of door do we have, and if it's is it a food pass? Has it got glass in it? Has it got a shutter on it? Is it a rated door? So again, we're having these conversations with the sheriff, and we'll be revisiting with him just to make sure that every door we put in place has the right lock, has the right glazing, has the right controls for privacy, right food passes for feeding the inmates if they are in a lockdown situation. So again, this is all part of the development process of the drawings. Interiors, this is the mechanical zoning. So again, now trying to establish our mechanical controls so we can take care of air circulation through the facility. So if there is one instant of somebody coming in with a communicable disease, it's not passed on through the entire facility. So zoning it so that areas can be exhausted out and be keeping everyone else safe in the rest of the facility.
Is there a room in there for like maintenance, for a maintenance man or something that would?
So right now we have the existing mechanical room, and we are creating another mechanical room out here. There is no office as such. I believe that the existing mechanical room, once we are done, will have a lot more room in it to allow for a space dedicated to a maintenance person. Again, you can see as we're starting to put more detail into it, our controls, what's happening in the chase, our variable air controls, our duct work is starting to get laid out, exhaust fans for each of the day rooms, so that right now there's a control room, an elevated control room, which has ports in the glazing itself. So if there's a need for staff members to communicate with some of the inmates with rubber bullets or pepper spray or anything like that, it
The
doesn't.
floor covering, are you going to do with a tile, or are you going to do with some type of what materials on the flooring
In the day rooms?
in the cell rooms and all that area to there?
So the day rooms themselves are going to be sealed and hardened concrete.
Just concrete?
Just concrete.
Okay.
We feel that that is the most economical,
Okay.
the most easily maintainable, and most durable finish for day room type spaces.
Okay.
That will also be the finish on the first level of the cells, because the cell comes in as a 5-sided box. So you pour the slab in first, the first cell sits on concrete, the floor is that same concrete that you have in the day rooms. The roof of the cell is a steel surface, and it's got a non-slip coating that's on top, so when you put the second cell on top of the first, that roof of the first cell is your floor for the upper level cell. And that's again as durable as the walls.
So those will stack on top of each other?
Yes. Again, we're starting to do the control rooms with the special controls, HVAC requirements to keep it cool. Any equipment in there needs to be kept cool. Some of these other spaces, like this is an inmate restroom. Actually, that's a staff restroom, accessible to the staff on this level. You have an inmate space in there. Again, some of this information that you see unoccupied is work in progress. Schedules are starting to be developed for your chilled water, your exhaust fans, your exchangers, all of this to, make the building as efficient as possible and to allow for controls for evacuation of air and contaminants in the air itself. Starting to get into electrical. We're starting to get into lighting. Again, what kind of lighting do we use in different spaces, commercial fixtures in all the administration spaces. As we get into detention, housing, replacing the existing fixtures with LED, high efficiency lighting fixtures, and preventing access to the light fixtures themselves by inmates. So again, making sure that the fixture is durable, they don't get access to wiring that they use to light cigarettes or do whatever they do inside there. So all the existing light fixtures will be replaced. The housing itself will start getting new light fixtures, and again, being very careful with how we spend our money. There's no reason for detention fixtures where inmates can't get to it, but where inmates do have access to it, make sure we have the hardened detention grade light fixtures with the hard lenses on it. We started putting visitation stations, TV locations, making sure that we have all the infrastructure in place so that when we want to put equipment in there, we can plug it in, phones, things like that. Getting into plumbing, again, replacing fixtures, new water lines, replacement of existing fixtures, all of that is in process right now. Back of cell elevations, again, this is very critical because we want to make sure that the chase itself is easily maintainable. It provides access for a lift that can run behind it to get access to the upper levels. So making sure all our equipment and our plumbing is defined right now so that when construction starts, there's no questions about how do I construct it or how do I build it. We are detailing all of that out right now on the drawing.
Between the outside wall of those units and the outside wall of the building, how much space you got in there, like a 3 or 4 foot walk space?
So typically we like to have 6 foot between the back of the cell and the inside wall of the skin of the building. By the time we put plumbing and HVAC and all those other equipment in the back of the cells, we lose between 18 to 24 inches of that. So we will have at least 3.5 feet of clear space for a lift to run up and down the back of the cells to get access to the upper levels.
So you have 2.5 feet?
3.5.
Hmm?
3.5. What we like to, all of our doors that go into the chases are 36-inch doors. So whatever piece of lift equipment we have should be able to go from through the door into the chase and then operate vertically. So you're not bottlenecked by, you know, the doors or by the spaces behind the cells to access all of that space. Let me see if I can pull up a.
In the equipment, is the lift gonna be part of this jail, or are they gonna have to rent that each time?
I would recommend that you look at purchasing one.
But it's not in the works right now?
It's not in the budget. It's a soft cost. You could get a used piece of equipment, but at some point I think it'll benefit the county if you did look at purchasing one. It makes it a lot easier when you do need to maintain it. You're not calling for a rental or anything like that. It's already there in the chase. You just move it to where you need it and you get access to it. So here's the cells and here's the chase. So we like to keep that at 6 feet. At certain locations where the steel frame is, you will reduce it to some extent, but you'll still be able to get a 3-foot piece of equipment to run all the way through in the chase. We talked about lighting.
So in all the office rooms, there'll just be some type of tiling put down on the floors, or what will?
So the administration areas will have carpet tile.
Carpet tile?
Yeah, so that's going to be the most of your offices. Some of the areas where we don't recommend carpet would be like evidence rooms, things like that. We'd be looking more of a vinyl tile that would go down, so it's more easily cleanable and wipeable than carpet might be for certain types of uses. We did have a good meeting with, I think Britton, you were part of this conversation where we talked about security electronics and how the whole building would be controlled, door controls, intercoms, camera locations, again making sure that you take the liability off the shoulders of the county by recording as much of the information, so if somebody does complain at some point that this event happened, then you can go back through your video and easily prove that it did or did not happen. Again, making sure that we're being frugal with our money, we're not going overboard with surveillance and with controls, but still making it easy to observe the necessary areas and to allow for staff to move easily from space to space. One of the things that we've seen is that a lot of times for movement of staff between rooms, it's easier to provide prox readers so that you can control who has access to certain areas. All of it is programmable, and so they're not calling central control every time they need to access a room. They got some of the credentials when they're walking around. But making sure that if an inmate does get hold of the credentials, they cannot escape the facility. There's the double accreditation required before they leave the building itself. So your last doors to freedom are always controlled by central control. Here's the kitchen plan that we talked about, again, showing every piece of equipment, and we went through this extensively. There's a couple of changes that are happening right here, we've got some structural walls that we need to address. So that's in works right now, but again, you know, as a design development set, we feel very comfortable with where we are. And as we move through this last phase of design, we will be making some minor tweaks, looking at, you know, comments and feedback from you and from the sheriff, and incorporating that. It's a lot easier to do it now than it is to do it after construction, so I would strongly recommend we do spend some time going over drawings. And any questions, any suggestions, any doubts about what you're going to get when we start building, now's the time to address it. So that's my 15 minutes of the design development process. If any questions, comments, I'll be happy to answer them.
Is the kitchen, is most of that equipment gonna be new, or we using some of the old equipment, or is that all gonna be purchased new?
So there's some equipment that we are going to be reusing. We do have these cooler freezers that are in very good shape. We just actually recently purchased those.
Yeah,
And
all the freezers and refrigerators are new, and I think the first freezer we got in 2018 or 2019, and then 2020 we had to replace all the refrigerators, so we're gonna reuse all of those.
So one's going to go in here. These are going to be all existing. There is, I thought there was one piece of equipment here that we talked about, Mike.
The stove is new.
This, yeah.
As of 2018 or 2019.
So as much as we can reuse from the existing, we are bringing in here. The only time we'd be questioning that would be, even though it's a working piece of equipment, if it's old, do we want that liability of having this piece of equipment, which may or may not last, so.
That's also an electric stove, or do you guys want to go to gas, or?
I think that's more of your preference,
Yeah.
not ours.
Well, I think it's an energy question. Electric stoves will use way more energy than what gas it would use.
I don't particularly like electric, but
It served us well for a lot of years, the old stove did anyway, but.
And we can, what we can do is provide both gas and power utilities to that location, and if we want to use the existing stove, that's fine. In the future, if that thing needs to change to gas, then you've got the gas right there, so then you can switch it out without doing any major work.
some of these have hoods over the top of them as well.
Yes, so there will
And
be this one.
Fire
big-
suppression and whatever.
Yep, everything's built in. So again, it is a commercial kitchen basically, and we are providing the ability with some freezer cooler attached to it to handle not only your current proposed capacity, but also the future. When we do add another 100, 120 beds to it, you will still be able to operate out of this kitchen without having to expand it.
Who's doing your cooking now?
We
Is it,
haven't hired.
you hired out?
We haven't hired cook.
The surfaces don't get scratched up fairly, or they take care of the equipment,
They
I
take pretty
guess?
good care of it, yeah. Yeah, it's cleaned up and everything before, well, after each meal, they're required to clean everything up, so by 9 o'clock at night, it's cleaned up and the kitchen's closed. There's, I mean, we get inspected just like everybody else does too, I mean, every restaurant, and we go
Right.
through the exact same inspection.
It's more with the surfaces of being scratched up. If it's electric, you got the surface that you need to maintain more so than you do with a gas type stove.
Oh, that may be, I mean, over the years, the biggest thing we had problems with on the old stove was knobs and stuff like that. But I think the burners maybe, to my knowledge, had only been replaced once, probably more somewhere that I didn't know about, but that's an industrial type stove, so, I mean, it's
Okay.
built just like a professional kitchen.
Same thing with the laundry, again, making sure that we have the capacity to handle the current proposed inmate count and also the future, so it's all being designed, and, you know, folding tables, storage for laundry and linen, keeping this trustee block next to the laundry and kitchen is going to work really well, we believe. That way, you know, this area is self-contained and you have trustees that are handling that work separate from the rest of the facility. Any questions, concerns, comments? Again, we'll be happy to have our next meeting and go through some of these designs in detail. That way, any feedback from you would be greatly appreciated.
Do we have any long lead items that are going to be a problem for the construction portion of this?
Nothing that's going to affect the schedule. Steel cells, we've checked with them. Once we go out to bids, they'll put us on their fabrication schedule, and we'll have the cells in time for the project. Generator sometimes might be one of those things that you might want to plan a little bit ahead of time and make sure that we order the generator in time. And once you get the CM on board, that'll all be part of the process. Okay, what is the long lead item? What do we need to order right now? Is it brick? Is it steel cell? Is it generators? Is it HVAC equipment? And so they'll establish all of those items with our help and make sure that they order it in time so that it doesn't affect the schedule.
Can you explain what's going to be in the construction documents once these are approved?
So again, in terms of quantity of drawings, you're seeing pretty much all the drawings that we're going to see in construction documents. The information, what you're seeing right now, is still in development phase, so there'll be a lot more information, there'll be a lot more details, there'll be a lot more definition of equipment, of heights of mounting of outlets and data and sizing of the HVAC equipment and the details that go into it. So it's just more detail to what you're seeing already here. I mean, if we had to put this set out for a pricing set, there's not enough information. Contractors can give you a ballpark number, but to get them down to the details of actually when they're going to build it, that's what this next phase will allow us to put that information on the drawings itself.
On the pod construction, the roof of the pod on the bottom, the cell on the bottom is the roof of the pod on top? So what?
The roof of the cell below is the floor of the cell above, yes.
What about soundproofing or anything with that? With them being a direct steel floor, I assume, is there not an issue with that?
So all the cells are fully insulated. It's a spray foam insulation. So the walls, the roof, all of that is foamed in
Is it
place.
soundproofing?
Yes,
Okay.
it's foamed on at the factory. They ship it. It's got this very durable insulation that provides sound and also.
Rhino. We all know what Rhino flooring is. That's what I tell everybody.
It's the roof is going to have that kind of a coating on top. It'll be.
It's soundproof.
But the insulation is what makes the difference. A 6-inch roof deck of the cell, and that is fully insulated with spray foam insulation. Again, the steel construction insulated cells allow for a much quieter environment. You don't see a lot of sound being transmitted through the facilities. We want to allow for sight and sound separation between housing units. So when we design this, if on day one, let's say you've got 24 women in your facility and you're housing them in this day room here, we want to make sure that there is no communication between a male unit next to it and the female unit. And so all the walls will be insulated, all the walls will be grouted masonry, and they'll be all the way to the deck. Doors will be sealed so that you cannot pass paper back and forth, and you should not be able to scream out here and start communicating with the block next door. And none of these housing units are designed for a particular sex. So 2 days from now, if you suddenly have 40 women that you're going to need to house, you can vacate all the males out of here and move them somewhere else and house them in these 2 units or any of the units and still have that same sight and sound separation between males and females across the board.
What about acoustical issues? What do you anticipate as far as with all the hard surfaces? Is the ceiling going to be sufficient to be able to well, actually that's a metal ceiling in part too.
Well, there's part of metal ceiling, there's acoustical ceilings between the edge of the mezzanine and the control room area. Let me pull that up.
So acoustically, we're not going to have an issue because of is the dampening just the ceiling?
Yes, the ceiling and the fact that the walls are going full height to the bottom of the metal building. So even if sound gets above the ceiling, it's not migrating over the top of the walls into the adjacent space. Where's that? Right, so all of these walls that you see here will be all full height to deck. Again, any sound that's happening in here doesn't transmit easily across to the adjacent spaces. And with this acoustical treatment, we feel that does help provide the acoustic necessary, but provides a harder surface on some of the areas which inmates do have better access to.
Those division walls and splitting up those meeting rooms, is that what you would consider those right there? Are those just solid walls with no windows probably, aren't they?
That is correct. So they're solid 8 to 10 inch masonry, fully grouted. We typically like to grout it up to 10 feet high because above that there's pointless spending money to grout the walls. Inmates can't get to it, but the wall construction will still continue all the way to the deck.
On the opening of the doors there, it looks like some of them cross each other, especially whenever in between the cells and the doors, or in between the day areas. Is that going to be an issue?
Yeah, these doors?
Uh-huh.
So those doors are required for code requirements. You need 2 means of egress out of your entire housing block. So in the case of an event, you could move inmates from one area to another if you're addressing something in a certain area.
The question is the swing of the doors. The swing of the doors cross each other in a number of areas across there.
So
Is there an issue with that?
No. This door is only used when you're having your watch tours. Watch tour is always done when the inmates are locked down in their cells themselves. These doors will be shut. This door is only a communicating door at those times. So we have not had any issues with this swing interfering with this swing here.
Is there a reason why the door has to be against that cell instead of up along the wall somewhere where there's not a conflict?
You mean this door?
Uh-huh. Yes.
On the first floor, we can shift it out. On the second floor, it gets a little tricky because your mezzanine is only 5 foot 2 inches wide. So this door pretty much has to be in this walkway that goes all around the front of the cells. So we could look at moving it on the lower level away. It just seems to make sense that if you're having the same concern with the second level door, then it should not be a concern on the first level.
And those doors are only open when?
Watch tours. So by standards, staff is supposed to go put eyes on all the inmates at regular intervals. So at that point, you lock the inmates down, you come in here, you hit a button on one side, and this is being recorded. Your watch tour is being recorded, or a guard tour. Put your eyes on every inmate as you walk down here and make sure that everyone's alive and well. And then you hit a button on this side. So it records that you actually started your watch tour at 10:12 p.m. and 10:14 you went through all of these cells and you finished your watch tour. Then you go into the next room and you kind of go all the way around. So again, this is a schedule that
And the locking and unlocking of those would be monitored by whoever's setting it to
at the control station. Yes.
Be unlocking them as the person walked through.
You do not enter the cells, I think, Mike. You just watch through the window, right?
We just have to look through the window and make sure that the inmates that are in that cell are alive and moving or breathing.
What I'm saying is when they walk around, if they're walking on that level checking cells and those doors come up, they can be open and unlocked by a man from central setting and watching. You can unlock them as they walk around.
Right. Right, there's several different ways to do it. I mean, you can, the officer can carry a key and you turn it a different direction than physically unlocking it, and it electrically unlocks. That way it records that that door unlocked and somebody went through it, and the fact whether the door opened or closed or not. Physically open or closed, all of that has to be recorded, to prove that you went through there every hour on the hour.
Is there a monitor on those doors that say that they're actually locked, closed and locked?
Yes. So that the lock function tells you lots of things. It tells you if the door is ajar or if it's just closed, if the door lock is engaged. All of that is being recorded. So you could have a door that's closed but not secured, and the system will know exactly what's going on with that.
Yeah, currently, we don't see that. It hasn't worked right in years, but yeah, there's a sensor in the top of the door and then a slider, hinge piece, or not the hinge, but a rod assembly. When you open the door on the panel, you can tell if it's physically open or closed, and then the lock tells you whether the door is locked or unlocked.
So if it gets jammed, it shows it being open still?
It's still non-secure. So anytime the door is not secured, you will get an alert at central control saying that door needs to be looked at. So somebody's messing with the lock, somebody's stuffing paper into it, all kinds of stuff. They get very creative with how to try and disable locks, but all of that has been recorded.
On the chases behind for maintenance, it's better to have a lift in there than to put an expanded metal or floor for that second level? Or some type of flooring system?
I've done one jail in 30 years where we've actually put a mezzanine catwalk in the chase behind the cells. The sheriff there
You think they was happy they did that?
I think the purpose is that they wanted to do it so they could have somebody do a guard tour behind the cells and look into it. So there's two things you require. Once, if you do that, then you need a window looking into the back of the cell, so there's an additional cost. Also, inmates will communicate really well. As soon as they hear somebody walking on that catwalk, that word gets around that there's somebody on the back catwalk looking in. So they clean up their act or whatever they need to do. So it didn't achieve the same efficiency that they thought they would get out of it, and it does add some cost to the project.
Well, I meant more as for the maintenance. I didn't think about the security, but more for maintenance of the upper level.
The amount of times that we have seen the need to put a lift in there to access anything on the upper levels is so far and few in between that we don't feel the need. I think a lift provides you the same access without adding that level of
Most of your stuff would be at the lower level of the upper level, so you're not looking at trying to get to the top. You're mainly going to be getting at the...
I mean, you do have plumbing fixtures on the second level. If we look at the plumbing drawings.
I'm saying your drainage and stuff will be coming out of the
It's
bottom
all coming
of that
down.
second floor.
It's coming on
so-
the bottom of the second floor. It's going all down. So that could be something you need to maintain, but it's not that often that we should consider that additional expense.
And we're still looking at UV in the ductwork, and
Yep.
it's all single air exchange.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of that information that our mechanical engineer sent in that email, we are going to implement that. Again, is this COVID thing going to last forever? We don't know, but there could be something else. And so even without COVID, we are still implementing design features that, can prevent, communicable diseases from transmitting throughout the facility. Making sure the zones are correct, making sure we are doing 100% outside air in certain areas so that none of the air is recirculating, taking care of those kinds of issues.
Is the HVAC and everything on top of all of that?
No, there's a separate room that we have adjacent to the facility. So this is one large mechanical room out here. You'll have some equipment in there. You're not going to have a lot of rooftop equipment at all. Maybe just the exhaust fans for each of the areas, which don't require that much maintenance. Yeah.
What is the size of that mechanical room?
This one is 30 by 24.
Cool.
It's
Okay.
pretty good. It'll be full. By the time we're said and done, all the mechanical rooms will be full. I mean,
Better be well used.
Yeah. We've got a couple, we've got one mechanical room here. That's gonna be pretty full with boilers and new mechanical. This existing mechanical will be cleaned up. Again, so it's amazing how much equipment is required to operate a facility like this with all the zone controls and things like that, and still provide it at a location that's easily accessible.
Is there a
for
possibility
maintenance.
that mechanical that's, there on the right side of the screen, is it possible that it goes on the other side of that jail, 180 degree, on the other end? There?
We could look at it. The reason why we located it here was because all the utilities were coming in on this side of the facility itself. The mechanical room is here. All of our lines are coming in here,
Yeah,
our
but-
water, all of that. So that's where we felt would be and especially with the outdoor rec, all of that equipment on that side, we felt it was easier just to take up that outdoor rec and convert it into a mechanical room.
At some point, I wanted to maybe carry that ball a little further, if you would.
Okay, let's talk about it. I can, on my drive back, I'll talk to our mechanical guys and see if we can provide some comments on why we felt that was the right location. We will have a couple of chillers out here in the back.
Part of it may be because we had talked about expanding out here. I don't know if you can see where the current one is. If we block any of these windows in the current cell, then we're in violation of state code because they have to have so much fresh, real light coming in. So if we expand it out here, we're blocking all the F block.
No, I just mean pick it up and put it totally on the other end of the block
think,
there.
yeah.
Well, that's currently our outdoor rec area. What you see from the highway when you go by, that's just utilizing that because we won't need that rec area anymore. So I know that was part of the talk, but they're putting walls and roof on it.
So it would get a little, it's not like it can't be done. We just have to find another means of egress out of this cell block in this direction. So if the mechanical room was over here, we'd have to do something creative like we're doing here, where we're providing, access out that way. So we could definitely look at that if you think that's.
I just got some things, after the meeting, we can look at that.
Sure. Any other questions?
There's a salvage there. Is there anything that you're gonna really be salvaging out of this? Once they take whatever's being removed and replaced? Part of what's gonna happen is that things that, still have maybe a use, but are no longer gonna be part of the new jail edition or the pods, become yours. And are you gonna be keeping any of the materials, and then if you are, or if you're gonna keep it and transport it to something else, how are we gonna, have you thought that through yet?
Any of the old stuff coming out?
Uh-huh, yes, cause it becomes yours you decide whether you're keeping it or you're getting rid of it. And when it comes out, we gotta make room for it to either go someplace or have pods there to store it.
Other than the value of scrap metal, I wouldn't bet that anything we're taking out is gonna be worthwhile to keep for us or to try to sell other things for scrap. Otherwise, we wouldn't be taking it out.
But the ownership becomes ours, becomes as soon as it comes out of there. Yeah. But if you're wanting to keep something, we need to make arrangements though to be able to store it.
Anything that I could possibly think of that is coming out because it's already problematic.
And the other thing is we gotta think of, if you're gonna be reusing it while they're construction, that it comes out that we're able to store it and then bring it back in, like UV lights, desks, whatever the case may be.
Oh, that I have not thought through, but,
Anyway, maybe thinking about what you're gonna be retaining that's gonna have to come out during construction and go back in.
Stuff like in most likely.
The construction
But that'll be
manager will help with
sections
that,
at a
but-
time, I would hope.
So it's going to be a phased construction, but there's going to be a lot of furniture especially that's always, going to be brought in maybe, again, after construction. You might want to plan on, getting a trailer or something to store it in temporarily while construction's being done. So a lot of the hard materials in this, from electronics to plumbing fixtures to doors, we were not intending to salvage. We can identify certain things that you want to salvage and give you first rights of refusal, but it becomes more of your responsibility than, to store it and to manage disposal and things like that. With contractors, if they're doing demolition, it's a lot easier to give them a blank slate and go clean that whole thing out rather than to say, save that and haul it off-site, or, I don't think sheriff's going to be hauling anything, but it does add a level of complexity, but we can definitely look at that if there is pieces of equipment that we want to salvage.
It does get complicated. The reason why I'm bringing it up, you need to be thinking through of things that you just can't part with and what we'll do with
One
it.
issue that we know we're gonna have is we're working on the kitchen area, how are we gonna continue to feed inmates that are still there, so, I don't have an absolute answer, I've got a couple of thoughts in mind, but depending on what time of the year that is, depends on whether we can ask the schools for help or not. Outside of that, getting somebody to, up and mobile cook or something like that, or maybe another jail nearby, to help with food services. But either way, there's gonna be transport of some sort. But, Edgar County does that with Vigo County now. Everything's cooked at Vigo County and they're transported to Edgar County, but they're talking 20 meals or less. We're gonna be talking 50, 60, 70.
When we get the construction manager on, you'll start that process of thinking that through anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if the schools will be able to do it when schools are in session. So if it's a summertime thing, we might get lucky and able to get them on board, but I wouldn't play on it during school session.
It might not be a bad idea to reach out and see if they can even help.
We got the septic and geothermal issues out there. At what point are you going to address those?
So that's the whole purpose of putting this mechanical room in place right now, is that once we get this operational, we can backfeed all the existing facilities and keep them conditioned, and then just disconnect the geothermal and not have to worry about it.
What about the fields? How are you going to abandon those?
Just abandon them in place. We are not building there. We are just, some pavement is going over it, but we don't see any concerns with that.
Well, the new pond is going into the vertical wells.
Yes. So we can't really do this until this mechanical room's in place. So, in fact, we had a geotechnical study done and we could not even bore where the geothermal fields were because we were afraid we might hit something and disrupt their existing operation. So we bored around it, and we're going to extrapolate that information to determine what's under the pod itself. We feel confident that the bearing capacities that we have under the pod is sufficient for our design.
In that process of excavating, that geothermal is horizontal out there, and you're going to dig each one of those trenches up, correct?
There's no reason to unless we are building on top of those.
You're going to be building on top of those.
That'll all be coming out, then the excavation will take care of all that. So we will make sure that, with the testing agency to establish bearing pressures, get the compaction we need so that we're not seeing any settlement issues later on. So they are fully aware that there is a geothermal field here, and there'll be their recommendation as to what we do with that before we put a building pad on it. So if they...
I don't know if they put them in with what they put them in with a trencher, or they put them in with a backhoe. Of course, you have to make sure you get water width of the old ditch, not just the pipe out. You know what I'm saying? You have to go to find a good, old sides.
Yep. So it's, I won't be surprised if we just excavate that whole pod area and just take out everything that's there and just rebuild on top of it. But that was not the recommendation of the geotechnical report that we saw last.
Since that is one of the major starting points of this project, that's going to eliminate a large part of the geothermal.
It'll be either abandoned or
So,
eliminated,
So
yes.
here we have we're eliminating a heat cooling source. What are we going to do about the deficiency that we have to the rest of the project?
So all the equipment that we are putting back, we believe is much more efficient than what the geothermal system that we have right now is in place. There will be some increase in utility costs because of the larger size of the project, but the system that's there right now is not running as efficiently as it could be or should be.
My question is, when you eliminate that geofield, that part of the geofield, will you have enough capacity with heating and cooling what you have in place to take care of it until the rest of it's finished?
So once we have this mechanical room built out, the existing geothermal is going to be completely cut
Okay.
off. So we are not going to rely on any of the existing geothermal to supply the existing facility once this new mechanical room is
So that's going to
in
be
place.
built first, you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we'd have to put our chillers, put this mechanical room in first, get the water line over from Vermilion Rise, phase 1, and then once this building's ready and conditioned without the geothermal, then we can go ahead and do all the other work.
That brings up another question. We talked about, we're doing away with geothermal. So we don't know really how it's going to affect the cost of operating. Because you say, you know what I'm saying, right now we're looking at a geothermal that's out of date, but yet it has a lot of value. So I'm saying after you know what your cost is per month now.
6,000.
With geo, your cost, that benefit's going to be gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you're going to lose the benefits of the geothermal, whether it's as efficient as it should be or not.
I mean, is there anything that, as far as a cost study you guys done or can do to know that what would be based on X amount of this project estimated cost of BTUs per month or year or something? Do you have some type of?
We'll be able to provide an estimate of the equipment and what it's going to use for this facility without doing a true energy model analysis of the existing and comparing it to the proposed. We won't get that exact number, but we will know what this facility is going to use in terms of gas to heat and cool it.
And the facilities you guys are doing now are about all going to the gas? Is that their?
Yes, that is correct. Geothermal sounds good as a selling point. When it comes to the cost and the long-term maintenance that has to be done to keep it running efficiently, there's always seems to be that resistance to commit, and we have not done another geothermal. That's why we were hoping we could do it here, and but there is a cost, and there's a lot of upfront cost to even evaluate whether it's going to pay back in 7 years or 10 years or whatever that return of investment might be.
Just can't let that go, can you?
I got it in my house, they cut my stuff by 50%. I mean, it cut my stuff by 50%, in about 7 years it's paid off, and so it's free heat from then on almost. I know from experience from mine it worked, so. Anybody got any other questions on this? These two bills you have up here, one for $17,000 and the other one for the $97.90. Trying to figure out whether they're included. These two bills here.
So we updated one estimate, right, that we had for 130?
1223 and 119. So trying to figure out, are they included? You seen those?
Yes,
You
so
see where they're
this
included,
is,
or I'm trying to figure
you
out,
should not,
maybe you look at it.
Tim.
and I'll correct this, you're not, this is our consultant, our structural consultant. All their fees is included in our billings. You should not
Okay,
even be
okay,
seeing this
okay.
copy.
I didn't look at it, that's someone else, some
Right.
company, and that's included, you're paying for that in your cost?
Yes, you
Okay.
should not, and in fact, you'll never see a JPS bill again, because it's not your concern who we use as a sub-consultant, that's our contract with them directly. Same thing with the HWC, when you get a bill, you will not see HWC's
Okay.
bill to you, it'll be to us, and we will include it in the total amount.
Okay. When you gave us this quote for X amount of dollars, of $795,974, when this is all done, is that gonna be the cost, or you think there's gonna be additionals, or what? I mean, in a process of this job of this size, maybe Brett or one of you guys can help me out, because I don't know. I mean, are those firm figures, or are they, I mean, that's my question.
So we base our fee on a construction cost of 14.6 or $14.7 million. That's what Jack Krause's estimate was to us. It is not our intent to ask for more because the construction cost went up to $16 million.
So if the construction costs come up, you're not gonna raise it by your percentage of that increase in the construction?
No, we are committed to delivering a successful project for that amount, yes.
Okay, okay.
That's subject to changing conditions, though. If something would happen, there could be an increase in cost, though.
If we increase the scope of project, if you tell me today that I need to add 100 more
Oh, yeah.
beds, but
Yeah.
as you see the project today, we are not gonna come back to you for more money.
That's good.
We've been in this too long to have that conversation, but looks like we're getting to the end, so that's good.
Now, we go back to the original question that I had earlier, just for clarification, on the construction administration, was $159,195, so that, you're looking at that being started after the bidding is done, then you will start doing that by the month,
That is correct.
and that's roughly 24 months divided up in 24 months of cost.
Is it? Yeah.
$2,000 a month or something like that?
8,800 or 88, yeah.
Is it 8,800 from us?
Yeah, it's $159,000, and that would be probably divided up among, and you're projecting a 24-month construction.
Construction, time, yes.
So each month you'd be invoicing us for 1/24 of that 159.
That is correct.
Okay. Any questions, Brett or RJ?
I don't. Do we need to approve the 148 today? The invoice for the 148?
We don't have to, but they appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure our kid would appreciate it.
I would appreciate it.
I can't go back home if I don't go
I make a motion, unless there's further discussion. You guys have
I
no
don't have any.
questions?
I don't have any. Anybody else got anything before you throw rocks at us? Then we need to, with HWC next, right?
Mhm.
Okay, just want to make sure there's. that's
Actually, we
next.
don't have to make a motion, but I'm in agreement to pay the bill of $148,663.80.
You making a motion?
Do you want a motion?
It don't matter. We all agree to do it.
I agree.
Everyone in
We're in
favor? Aye.
agreement, yes.
Opposed?
Well, it's a bill and it should be paid, yes.
We're learning. It's just a process that we three have got to get used to, and there's certain things we do and we don't, and there's people out there watching. I guarantee the moment we do something wrong, they're going to be calling somebody. So
It's nice to know when you're wrong.
you got to protect yourself.
That's right, we're doing it right now.
So,
And
No, it's due, they're due their design cost at this point.
so we'll have to move the money over in that account before it's done.
There's a number of things that still need to be done yet. There's a lot of schedules and a lot of refinement of the drawings and with electrical, mechanical, and so
Well,
forth.
one of you will have to be here for the council meeting for the additional appropriation.
Okay. So what we're coming out of this, we're approving the 148,663.80.
Subject to funding, the movement of
Subject to
funding, sure.
Which will be moved over. We're approaching the council to move the $678,974 over into that fund, so it's a working fund for future invoices to come in, so we don't have to go back to the council constantly. But the other thing is too, is anything I do here, I will further send it to the council and keep them updated every time we do something. I think it's good. It's a good process unless someone objects to it.
When does council meet?
The
Next-
fir-
Is it tomorrow?
Second Tuesday, yeah, tomorrow night, second Tuesday of the month.
So the,
Tomorrow, the special meeting.
Oh, we have a special meeting tomorrow night, but it's.
Yeah, that's for the community crossing grant approval. That would be.
well, anyway, payment is subject to the funds being, when
Well, that-
fefunds become available.
That
Sure.
has to be for the February
Yeah, it would
9th
have to be the
meeting.
next meeting. So,
Calendar.
you're not getting your money today, you'd be a few days.
I'm gonna drive west if I got the money today, but you know.
At least you know it's approved and it's going in the right direction.
Thank you.
That'll make it simpler. But I appreciate your comment about that. I was, you know, in all this, my big deal is number one, get something built at quality, and I think with Britton and RJ and us, I think we'll be making good decisions for the county. But on the other hand, we look at that cost, you know, and I think that, to me, I'm not real familiar with Britton, more familiar with it than I am, but what you said means a lot to me, and I think it means a lot to us involved here, that what you said, that price would be held regardless if that price goes up at cost. Now, if we come back and say we want to move this room, that room, this room, I understand that.
Not if you move a room, if you add.
If we add a
yeah,
room.
If you add a room, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, so if that cost would go up to 20 million, you're still going to be at this original 798, unless we come back and say we want to change things and do stuff like that.
Could be less.
Oh!
I'm not gonna
You
say.
don't comment on that. But I mean, you know, we oversee this, and whatever happens here, they're holding us liable, or, you know, so and I think we got a good group of men here, and ladies, and everybody here, I think will do very, very well, I really do.
And, you know, we want to be a good partner. That's how this project's going to be a success. And so, you know, holding to our contract and our responsibilities, that's what we're looking for. And we appreciate you sticking with us for so long. And, you know, we've got 2 more years to go, so.
Are we still looking at, that you project that it's going to be a May or a June time when everything's together for bid, or you think, well, you
April
guys?
1st, is it not?
So we're looking to go out for bids on April 1st, or thereabouts. And again, this will a lot will depend on the CM once you get them selected. If they feel that's the correct time frame to go out. There's a lot of homework they need to catch up on between now and you know, bid day. But we'll be ready to go out. We believe it'll take about a couple of months to get bids back in, and get contracts signed, things like that. So end of May.
You see anything on a national level that's going to affect this jail project?
Steel prices is one thing that I keep hearing about going up. I think there was an email circulated a while back, and if not, I'll send it again. The steel prices have been going up this year, and they project again to keep going up. So, you know,
Scrap metal prices are up now,
yeah, 5 to 6% increase in cost of steel. We're not surprised to see that. And again, having the CM validate the cost that, you know, we've been talking about up till now will be critical to making sure that we're not surprised when we do receive bids. And again, you know, making sure that we create enough alternates in the bid so that you still have a project after we receive bids, and it doesn't just kill the whole thing because we got 6% increase in steel prices or something like that. So that's my biggest fear, is cost of steel. It is going up.
Have you been in communication with Baker Tilly about the bonding?
Not since our last meeting, no, but that's the schedule that they had established, and we are sticking with that.
Is that part of your responsibility?
We are communicating with them.
Okay.
It's not our responsibility, but we are going to be working together to get the documents done in the time frame that they've established.
Do you think there's any problem with them as far as time to get what we
No.
need?
No, We are tracking that schedule, and so.
We've had
we've got some-
discussions with them here recently, and just, they were supposed to be giving you a call here in the last week, I thought, but anyway.
Okay,
Mr. Hall,
I'll reach out to him again, see if he's got any questions
part
for
of it,
me.
he's waiting, I think he may be waiting on that construction manager. I told him it wouldn't come about possibly until the 16th, so.
Okay, I think once that happens, I think there's gonna be a flurry of meetings where we all need to come together and make sure that the project is put back on, not back, but at least stay on schedule.
You're right, put it back on schedule.
Yeah, I mean, we're tracking that schedule, but we need other people to jump in and make sure that they're doing their share to keep us on it.
You don't have to be diplomatic.
We can talk offline.
Anybody got any more questions for RQAW?
When do you plan on having a CM?
I can't.
If we stay on schedule, it'll be confirmed at the February 16th meeting, commissioners meeting. Now, there's a possibility that if we get ahead of our schedule, we could have a special meeting. But at this point, it's February 16th.
If you need RQAW to be part of any interviews, we'd be happy to sit in. If there are questions that come up during the interview, we can just be a
I think
attendee.
Go ahead, Brett, I don't want to interrupt too much. Or RJ, I'm talking too much.
It'll be, I guess it's up to you guys whether you want them to sit in or not. It's next a week from today.
My personal opinion is if you
It's
could
interviews.
if he could be available by Zoom or something, because you got mileage and stuff coming down here, and if you can be available if you want to.
Absolutely.
Whatever. I'm just, you guys tell me what you think, or you want.
I'm not opposed to that.
I never really thought about you being here. I'll have to think about that.
Let us know, even call me Monday morning and say, we need you to be here. It's an hour and a half, I'll be here.
Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
Anytime. As long as the weather doesn't do anything crazy like it's supposed to
Sure.
do today, but, yeah.
Oh, we'll talk about it and see about
Okay.
today.
We've got two other items here. I think you should have them in your thing for mileage. That's a separate item we need to address, right?
It's all
Mileage
included in the
for-
bills?
Yeah, it's all
1214,
included, it's all
1208.
included to that
Yep.
bill.
It's just for your records
That's
that
another-
we, yeah.
Good. I
I
like
just gave it
certain-
to you so you knew what was included in the
Okay,
bill.
okay.
We're done
Yeah.
paying
Okay.
for today.
That's good. We're starting off
Paying
right.
that anyway.
Does this mean that you're authorizing us to proceed with the next phase of design, or is that?
I guess we can. I do have a number of questions that it's not worth this meeting, just to get your perspective on why things were done the way they were, so.
Absolutely.
So I would agree that we should proceed with the 100%, or wait, for the next phase of the detailed,
I would agree.
You agree? And you
detailed
agree? We're-
construction drawings and all.
Thank you.
It's approved.
And schedules.
Can we take just a 3-minute break? Is that okay?
We're not going with motions anymore, we're going with agreements.
Yeah. They practically said we could do what we want in a way, but as long
Our
as we all
motions are
agree
getting
it's
to be
public,
ridiculous.
it's a decision, so. In our regular
We
meetings,
agree
we'll
that you
do
can
that
proceed
differently.
with your,
Yeah, we
With
feel
your
comfortable with
designs.
where we are and.
I know you are.
And what it's gonna take to get to
Take a break
to
about
the
3
end here,
minutes.
so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take a 3-minute break instead of a 5-minute break.
The recording's on now.
Yeah, the
so don't
recording
forget
is
that.
on.
Still alive?
Stays on.
After this?
There's a tutorial going on with the treasurer about commissioners' tax sales, but it's not a meeting. It's just a tutorial. It may be in there, in the
Probably
treasurer's
treasurer's
office.
yeah.
Yeah. If you need to go,
No, I had a meeting at 10, all this guy's doing.
Are you guys gonna
We'll see.
do board appointments? Is that
Thank
what you're
you.
doing next?
I gotta, Britton, are we discussing any more on the jail? Did he say
yeah,
something about HWC?
yeah, we have one more thing. We have to approve the supplement to the RQAW
Okay.
I just want to make
contract.
sure that if we needed to stop the recording or if we just let it go.
Well, we have more to record.
Okay, so I'll just leave it going and.
Okay.
Okay. Can you pause it? Is it pausable?
Because it's live,
Ah.
so, but I will tell you, if you hit, you should be able to.
It doesn't want to go off.
Because usually you can touch that and it.
While Tim's in there, we can, we're not supposed to discuss anything other than what's on this special meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can discuss that.
We got board appointments too. With the TVs.
Yeah. Is this something EAS would do, or is this something we need to have our people do? Just
What's that?
move that monitor from there to here?
Put it back here.
So people that,
BIS will have to do it because all the cords for it are managed by them. It's all
Who?
part of this
who will?
BIS.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't want to touch those because that's, you guys pay for somebody to manage those.
okay.
And I've got an email out to him right now,
Huh? No, I'm ready.
waiting for a response.
Get through it.
To move it?
I've asked him about
We're on
moving
the-
him, I've asked him
So we're on
about
the HWC
Zoom,
supplemental
so
thing next? Okay.
I'll get him in here and we'll get talking to him.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if y'all don't mind, we're gonna move on. We'll wait till the ladies get back.
There you go.
Go ahead and start this. Next we have HWC. Greg Smith, you want to come here and? Both
It's
of you?
actually RQAW.
RQAW, I mean. and
They're just a
HWC.
sub-consultant
Okay,
too.
I'm sorry.
So, we are going to have HWC under contract with RQAW and pass through those invoices to the county. There's an amendment in front of you for the full amount of HWC's contract, and we just,
You said your price wouldn't go up.
their price might not go, it might go up.
I'm kidding with you.
Where's that copy?
Yeah.
I don't have an amended.
I don't have it.
Is that
You
not-
said you guys were over there doing some work over there the other day, right?
Yeah, our survey's done.
It's $59,000. They sent it, should've been in your packet somewhere.
Went away.
Huh?
Heard a noise, a chirping noise, and it went away.
There's a side.
You mean the
Sirens.
sirens?
Okay.
When was it sent, Britton, last week?
January 18th is the date of the document.
Service in here, but I can, today 18.
So what is the
It's
original,
59,000.
what is the total which we're dealing with for,
59,000.
no, the total project with HWC for, or with RQAW for the changing of the water?
Basically, you'd be adding that 59,000 to their total.
Okay, but the total project, not only your engineering work, the engineering work, I'm saying the total,
Oh,
the 259 or?
Oh, you mean construction for those pieces?
Yes.
I believe construction was around
Can you email that to
210,000
me?
Okay.
for the water. Now, if we've also talked about maybe doing something with the wastewater, that would be part of.
Yeah, it's,
But, yeah, about 210,000.
Unless you guys have some questions, I guess it's a matter of approving HWC working, well, basically it's RQAW supplement.
Yeah.
So of
I have no
$59,000, and I'm in agreement to continue that relationship. What it has done is that if you recall, we were looking at HWC being an independent contract, and instead of doing that, because of the operational and mix of the interface between RQAW and HWC, it was easier to combine those contracts. And then we also added to that a sewer component to it that wasn't in the mix originally. And so basically there's some economy of them working together and with the construction documents and with the bidding and the construction management of it. So with that, the total with the supplement to RQAW would be $59,000, and I would like to see us approve that or come in agreement with that number and allow that in RQAW's contract.
Okay, so, we need to think about this a little more, because we're looking at the amount that was quoted from you for the amount of RQAW of the $795 does not include
Did
the
not
engineering for
include-
HWC, correct?
There's this another contract amendment, number 3.
Okay, but what I'm trying to get at is these costs with you two, for engineering is gonna have to come out before the actual award of the bonding and the total project. So we're looking at this amount of appropriation from the council. It's not including, you see how I'm getting at?
We're-
We're
59,
we're
yeah.
fine
Not-
because we've got more monies in there from the construction that's supposed to go for 24 more months. So the 65,000 will be paid within that. We have 159,195 that's not going to come due until July, August, whenever the actual construction starts up.
Okay, but what I'm saying is we eventually will have to go back before bid date and ask for more money.
We're going to,
It'd be after your
not
bond.
before bid day, no.
After bonding.
Because you appropriated the full 24 months of that.
Yeah, but that's not what
We
I'm
have
saying.
sufficient funds
That's
in,
not what I'm saying.
okay.
This money is going to the account that pays it,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So therefore, if there's additional that's gonna be spent between now and bid date, it needs to be included in that appropriation to go in that account.
We're not going
That
to
makes
spend
sense.
that amount of money before April 1st or whenever the bid day is. We won't spend that amount of money yet.
A portion of their fee is construction based, and it will be paid after your bonding and stuff.
Thank
So
you.
That's what I'm saying. I'm worried about what needs to be appropriated before the bid date, the bond.
I've got it.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
Thank
if you guys are okay, no problem. I just thought,
I understand
maybe you
what
didn't
you're
understand
saying.
what my question was, because we're moving the money from, we have the money here, it has to move to here. We gotta ask for it to be moved to there. So I'm thinking, why don't we ask for the extra that you are gonna be spending before and just all do it one time, and then we've already got that all in that one.
You won't be able to.
Does
do
that make
it-
sense, or am I?
You won't be able to do it for the next meeting because it had to be to the paper already, and I've already sent it to the paper. So it'll have to be for the next meeting if you want to do extra. Because it has to be in the paper 10 days prior to the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm just saying, we'll probably have to come back and readdress that later. Okay.
Okay.
That make sense, Eric, or not? Or not? Maybe now you can explain it to me later.
Not a
Or
problem.
maybe I can explain it to you later. Anyway, okay. So,
Okay.
Is anybody else in agreement with that?
I'm in agreement with the $59,000 supplement.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. Yes,
Okay, so it
the
will be
supplement
approved.
is approved.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then the contract will be signed at some point.
Okay, so back to this. We're talking about this water problem or issue with the rise. We or they or someone needs to address the issue, right, with the water.
That's part of what the HWC will be working with them on.
Okay.
And I've met with them after last week's commissioners meeting, had a meeting with them on water and wastewater. And once we get our survey on paper and start laying some things out, I'd like to have a meeting with you or one of you to go through some of those questions and issues. So, yes, we are working through those.
So when we're talking about this wastewater issue, why, we got it in place, it pumps X amount, it's X amount of capacity. I mean, if we're not changing the capacity, why do we need to do anything with the wastewater?
We are changing capacity.
Well, that's what I'm asking. If we're changing, how much are we changing?
Well, that's what they're gonna
That's what
look
they're
at.
doing.
That's the component that was added to this, what they're gonna be doing.
We've got flow data from RQAW based on their plumbing design. We're checking the existing system in place to make sure it has capacity. I don't think we have any issue with capacity because they built a large enough pipe. The matter that does need to be addressed is the debris and the material that is getting to their plant, so.
But that's what I'm trying to say is, what we have in place until we find out that capacity, it might have enough capacity to handle it anyway, right? It's a possibility.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think there's a capacity issue, but we'll do our due diligence to check it. But we also have to deal with the debris issue.
Okay.
The line
Have you
looks
viewed
like
that
it
yet?
has enough capacity. It gets back to, did you do your drawdown on the pumps yet?
Not yet.
And it gets back to pump size and then residence times in the lift station itself. Did they determine that it was coming from the jail, or
Yeah.
was it,
Yeah,
it
they
is
said-
given?
They said it was. They've got a way of isolating and confirming what's coming from each direction.
What segment, okay.
Are you looking at isolating that problem, eliminating that problem at the source where it comes before it goes into our pumps, or are you
Yes.
looking at, okay.
That would be the most economical, to try to deal with it at their point of receiving it.
I wonder if they got a different rate over there with the rise as far as volume of water. If you get X amount of volume, it goes a different rate, like, you know, when we deal with water rates, you know, it goes X. If you go 2,000, 4,000, there's different.
Are
it's
we
about
not
different
set
rate
on a
rate.
set fee? It's not on a per gallon basis, is it?
Are they regulated by
I don't
RC?
think they have rate blocks. They don't have enough customers.
They're not.
You know, I think it's just so much per gallon.
Did they get out of RURC?
I was at the last RISE meeting, and to my understanding, they don't have to be a part of that if they're just supplementing to the RISE, or to entities in the RISE, and the jail was like grandfathered in years ago. But, yeah, I think it's just a set rate. I was at the meeting, I can't remember it now, but I think everybody's just a set across the board.
Per gallon per thousand?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them get out of
I mean,
RURC.
if they were to get a very big user, then they probably need to set up, you know, different rate blocks, you know, give them, you know, a break on the cost per gallon, but they don't have that type of situation right now, so.
You don't see no problem with them having the capacity to take care of the jail with what they're pumping and stuff? Okay.
Should help their plant somewhat, I would think.
Their wastewater plant is underloaded.
Right. That's actually a worse problem than
the
not
other
worse,
one.
but it's a problem. Anyway, we've approved that. What's next?
Is the appointments the next thing on the,
If we, yeah,
okay.
I think. Move on to appointments.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Thank
If
you.
somebody else has any questions?
I do have, I don't know when you want to go over these. This is for RQAW for the most, well, actually, part of it has you too, Eric, but,
If it's after, you wanna do the appointments first, and then?
yeah. I don't
maybe-
think we'll be very long, will we?
I don't think, I mean, I don't
Can you
really-
wait around, or if you guys need to go, we can discuss it later?
I'm not sure the appointments are that long.
I don't know about this appointment, we're ready for them early, to be truthful.
But we need to make appointments to the drainage board, I think.
Okay, yes, that's right.
With that, because of the issues of timing
Yeah,
and so forth.
they're supposed to have it done in January
Yes,
by law. Okay.
supposed to.
In that position, the surveyor's on there automatically, right?
Yeah, he's an ex officio member of the drainage board.
And we had the secretary,
I-
we combined that into one, correct now?
I didn't look at that close enough. Somebody may have better information, but I think one commissioner has to be on it, and then I think one has to be a freeholder of the property in the county, which I guess could be a commissioner, but anyway. I think there's 3 that have to be on the board, and you can have up to 5.
Yeah, I think just years past, in which we've talked about that, the 3 commissioners just sat on every board. And I don't know if we want to continue to do that. We
I don't.
want to designate, 1 to sit on it.
You're right, the solid waste was that way, some,
It's just-
but it's the drainage board, when they had the 3 commissioners on it, in fact, when I asked Mr. Spur about it, he said, well, even if they can't handle it, if it's a county issue, they got 3 commissioners on there, they can handle it anyway. So,
Yeah.
it was kind of a worthless board at that point, because you
You
might as well
handle
just had it during
as
the
a
commissioners meeting.
commissioners
yeah.
meeting.
But I think it should stay, 1 commissioner has to serve on it. Not that all 3 can't, but 1 has to. And then 1 is a freeholder, and then the other one's whatever in the county.
Do we have any recommendation on the secretary?
Well, we're not, that's up to the board to get president, secretary and all. We need to make the appointments to the drainage board. Which commissioner's gonna sit on it, and the other 2 members, or 3 or up to 5 members, I guess. And I don't think that counts the surveyor as an ex officio
No,
member.
I don't
It's
think so.
3 or 5.
Well, Tim or
We
Brett,
need to
do you
have
want
at least 3 for the board meeting coming up whenever that's scheduled.
I don't mind
for.
serving on it, especially when we have them right after the commissioners meeting. It makes it convenient, but when you put it out separate, kind of inconvenience, but I have no problem.
That's up to the board when they meet. There's
Yeah.
certain requirements the board has to.
We just need to get appointments done.
Yes, the appointments are only issue right now. The rest of it's not an issue. That's up to the board to decide.
I don't have the paperwork in front of me.
You're wanting to serve on it as a commissioner?
Sure. Yeah.
We have 2 other members at least that we need to name, or 4, 2 or 4.
We want we to see what we're going to do here. You want to make a motion, nominate me, or nominate myself, or what do we do here?
Well, let's figure out the other 2, or 2 or 4,
Did you have?
or the other 1, I
applicants?
mean, or.
Did you have applicants?
I don't think anybody applied to be
No,
on
I
it.
didn't think you
No.
did.
Does anybody know
So
of
we got the
anybody?
surveyor.
Hmm?
Do you know of anybody that expressed interest in serving on it?
I do not. Nobody's expressed interest to me.
I don't either.
The only reason why I put it on there is because it needs to be done this month.
How many do we have to have a minimum of?
3.
A minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5, 3 or 5.
And we're not sure the surveyor counts as a member.
I don't believe he does. He's not a voting member.
Surveyor is not a voting member.
I hate to name people that if we don't know they want to serve on it.
Well, if they're named and they don't show
Well,
up, that's their.
If we name the 3 enough to get it if we get it done in a lot of time, then we can, if we want to change it to 5, it would be a problem, right?
I think it's just.
You said a minimum of 3, max of 5, so if we did the minimum of 3
Well,
today.
do you know 2 other people?
Huh?
Do you know 2 other people that want to serve on drainage?
Well, there's I and someone else, one of you 2 could do it. That'd be 2. And then
Well,
what would the
actually, we need, and we're freeholders, so actually we could do that and then
we can put us 3
resign.
down and move on, and then
if
change
we
it.
find someone who does
I would.
that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to just us 3 serving and then stepping. Maybe reaching out to people and getting some.
To satisfy his
That's what it
requirement.
is now, is all 3 commissioners.
I just don't want to move forward with all 3 of us sitting on all
No.
these boards.
But to satisfy the requirement, we could do that, and we could change it.
Yeah. I
We
think
got a
maybe-
date we need to get done.
I think maybe we could reach out or maybe put some post out that we're looking for drainage board members and see if we get any applicants.
I encourage someone to take my place. I mean, we need more people involved.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's a good solution for now until we can identify persons that
Yeah,
have
some people
a
that-
direct interest to it. And Ron was here, but anyway.
I'm sure he might know a few
He probably
people.
has some suggestions.
So do we have a president, vice president, and a secretary we need to fill today? Is that?
No,
No, we
we
just
just need to make
Okay.
the appointment.
Point.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
board
because
will.
then that board will make them.
The board will
Okay.
make that
I got you,
decision.
got you. So, we're gonna make a motion, we need to make a motion on appointment,
Yeah.
right?
I make a motion that Tim Yocum, Ron Donovan, R.J. Donovan, and myself are appointed to the Drainage Board. Can you do
I
that?
second it.
Okay.
I second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait a minute, forgot about discussion. but-
Yes, you're right. Any discussion?
Any
Discussion as.
Oh, he's got his hand up.
Yes,
Who's been on the drainage board prior?
the three
The three
commissioners.
commissioners.
That's the way it's always been?
Yeah, we're just trying to get away from 3 commissioners serving on.
We have a
drainage,
date
solid
of this
waste.
month that has to be appointment,
Right.
so
I
then,
will say, whenever I was commissioner in Knox County, we did the same thing. And then whenever I found out that you could put up to 5, I mean, I agree with you, 3 is plenty. But I agree with you totally. It's better to not have all 3 of you commissioners on the board.
right,
And the surveyor is definitely a member of the board, but
We
not
need the same
voting.
thing with that.
Right.
yeah.
So that's, I'm positive of that.
No, no, I didn't.
I totally
Tim
agree.
did.
So Eric, you might put in the paper we're looking for
If you
drainage
get
board.
a big
We-
landowner, or somebody that, somebody that, a big farmer, that's
Yeah.
what I did personally. And I tried to get one from the south, one from the northern part of the county, because they know the ditches, because they rely on it. You know, they run their field tile, out their fields and stuff, so, you know, you do, I wouldn't wait for somebody to ask you to be on it. I'd go after somebody.
Yeah, I think
A
we-
big landowner, a big
I think talking with
farmer,
Mac, we could probably find somebody
that
too.
does field tile, I mean, it means a lot to them.
Right, okay.
We might, solid waste is another one. It has enough board members on it currently, I think, that are still serving, but historically 3 commissioners as well has served on it, so if you guys wanna, we'll make one appointment to that
We
today
have
as
an
well.
administrator and a controller for that, so that's what I was gonna
That's
ask you.
the
'cause
board
we're-
needs, yeah, the board needs to
Because
meet.
we do
and-
not have that, and then.
We don't make
Phyllis
that
is-
appointment though.
Yeah, the board itself needs to discuss
the
that,
board.
but.
Okay, but what I'm saying is if you do appoint, you got, please let me know, because Phyllis is still doing everything, and I'm gonna
Okay.
go ahead and pay her doing what she's doing.
Well, yes, status quo maintains, but that is going to change
Okay.
also. There's some issues with our solid waste handling, so.
Alright, so does anybody wanna serve on solid waste then? Britton, would you like to be the commissioner for it?
I didn't check, that is one of them that's coming up.
Yeah.
I didn't check that. I can say, I
look,
thought you
he-
were interested in solid
he's-
waste.
I am, but I think with some of your knowledge, you might be. I
Well,
can
I've got a
still
lot
come-
of knowledge, it's just.
Yeah, but he's run ramrod and some of this stuff that, with the recycling, I appreciate
what
what
I-
he's doing.
I don't mind continuing to serve. I was the council
Go ahead.
appointments.
I'll chime in where I can.
Okay,
That's
yeah, yeah.
fine.
I'd like to serve on that then
Okay.
as the commissioners.
Yeah.
They don't mean we can't be there, we can still
Yeah,
come.
yeah. Well, just getting away from the
Yeah.
3, the 3.
Yeah, I
month
think
thing.
it's wonderful, I think it's wonderful.
I don't think, yes, I agree.
More public involvement, the better government works. Hopefully,
I would prefer no commissioner sit on these, but that's not what the statute says.
yeah. So,
I
I make a motion that
Yeah,
R.J. Donovan serves on the solid waste board.
if you need a motion,
Forward.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's done. Anything else on that we need to, there's some other things we need to work on, but it's going to be scheduled for later on that.
Looking for a motion to adjourn then, or is there
I
anything?
think that's all the business we can conduct today,
Yep.
unless you got other appointments you want to make.
Motion adjourned?
Motion?